Knocked Loose. My dogs. As of recent, the past 2 years, I've grown to love Knocked Loose. Um, they're heavy hitting. They literally want to make you punch your own dick inside of you. They dropped a song. They dropped an album.
Yep,
Me and
album release
Demonic
day.
were gonna do. Me and Demonic were gonna do a full album thing, but we realized that might take for fucking ever.
Yeah.
So we're gonna review one of, if not the most anticipated song off this album, which is Slaughterhouse 2. Now, for those who don't know, Motionless in White dropped a song called Slaughterhouse on their latest album, to score the end of the world, or scoring the end of the world, which featured Brian Garris from Knock Loose on that track, Slaughterhouse. Knock Loose returned the favor and said, "Hey, Chris, do you want to do this song with us?" To which, of course, because Chris Motionless is one of the nicest, if not coolest dudes in metal, just based
Yes.
off of and what from what I've heard from others, coolest dudes in metal, said, "Of course, why the fuck would I not want to do that?" Right? Knocked Loose featuring Chris Motionless, Slaughterhouse Part 2. This is the most anticipated song tonight by far. Let's fucking get into it. Okay. Obviously, the song prior leads into this, by the way, with that abrupt of a start.
Break down the wall again!
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
Time passes, I say the same. So many nights that gathering signs.
Very knocked loose so far.
This place, it must be somewhere to excel. Space.
Very knocked loose so far.
Pretending like you see
Last beat.
your father's work. But running like it's your sister. Waiting, but I can't let it go now. Let the walls be first. I tried, but I can't let it go.
Chris just fits so good there.
He's so good.
Let it go.
What the fuck was that? Were they playing the jug right there?
I can't let it go. Moments of depression, I'm in
Oh shit.
Nice. Nice. Eye for an eye. They said it again. Not satisfied with the scraps. I showed a war.
What are we gonna do here?
Another notch in the system flood. One mutilation.
I feel like they're still.
Ooh.
You won't survive in the slaughterhouse.
Oh my god.
And that's how it ends.
No! Wait, is that really how that's how it ends? That's how it ends.
What a
Oh
cock
my
tease.
god.
You'll have to wait for part 3 to get the end of that song.
That song. I love the references back to the original Slaughterhouse. Very good. There were a few, if not more than a few. But that song was very heavy. The one thing I loved about that song was when you see crossovers from bands, which you don't see often, but when you see crossovers from bands, The original artist of that song. So if you were to say the original artist is Motionless in White, which is true because they dropped Slaughterhouse before anybody else.
Yep.
They dropped Slaughterhouse, and then Brian reached out to, or the band, I should say, the band reached out to Chris and said, "Hey, do you want to, do you want to get featured on Slaughterhouse 2, or do you want to do Slaughterhouse Part 2?" And Chris says, "Fuck yeah," right? Um, the fact that they kept it so close to what they do, right? Because a lot of the times as a musician, you're tempted to write the song in almost not unison, but very similar to what the band who did the original version or the prequel to what you're writing did. You're so tempted to do that. And that was so knocked loose that you could separate both songs and they could still live individually. So you have Slaughterhouse 1 with Brian Garrett featuring Brian Garris by Motionless White, and then you have Slaughterhouse Part 2 featuring Chris Motionless, right? They could live on their own. And that's what I love about that song. They didn't try to go too motionless. They still stuck to their formula, which Knock Loose has done great for a couple years now, few years now. I loved it. Loved it. Bob my head. It will be playlisted for sure.
That's good.